Part 13. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 121. Wednesday 4 p.m. As soon as Kurosawa Hikaru walked out of the school gate, he saw a familiar car parked on the roadside. He was walking alone today because Yoda Miyazaki still had classes. Kurosawa, this way. Igarashi Runa leaned against the car just like last time. The first time she saw him, she stood up immediately and waved enthusiastically. Dusk has not yet arrived and the sun is shining brightly. She is wearing a dark blue knitted bra, a pair of denim hot pants, and a thin blue windbreaker that is half off. Her round and white left shoulder, slender white legs, it looks very sexy and hot. Although she is 8 years older, she still looks young and beautiful with exquisite and fashionable makeup. Coupled with her warm greeting, it would be difficult for an uninformed person not to misunderstand that she is his girlfriend. There was some distance between the two sides, and Kurosawa Hikaru quickly stepped forward. "How long have you been waiting?" Arriving in front of the car, Kurosawa Hikaru stretched out his hand to open the passenger door and also asked. It didn't take long to wait. It only took a while. Igarashi Runa opened the driver's door and got in. "Let's go to our company." As she sat down to talk, she also winked and motioned behind her. Noticing this movement, Kurosawa Hikaru looked back and saw a blue-haired beauty wearing sunglasses, a mask, and a large trench coat, sitting in the back seat. Although it covers most of her appearance, her iconic long blue hair makes it difficult not to identify her. Did Ms. Ninomiya arrive early? Seeing that she was already here, Kurosawa Hikaru was a little happy. "There is no class in the afternoon, so I just want to go take a look." Ninomiya-kun, he nodded slightly and said calmly. "Does it have to be so strict?" Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but ask. Of course, even if she wears sunglasses and a mask, she is still very beautiful because of her figure and temperament. But humans are very curious creatures. If others cover something, they will have the desire to explore it. She was worried about being seen with students after school, especially at the school gate. Igarashi Runa understands this. Although they haven't dated yet, it would be hard not to get misunderstood if they were seen together after school. "I see." Kurosawa Hikaru thought for a while and then suppressed his curiosity. Driving a car all the way through the city. It was still early at this time and it was not the peak period. Although there were still traffic lights, we arrived at our destination at 5 o'clock. They entered a garage, and the door was still controlled by a remote key. There is also a garage, such a luxury. Opening the car door and entering the house directly, Kurosawa looked at the surrounding environment, feeling a little strange. This garage is quite large. After parking the car, the activity space is somewhat spacious. It is about the space of a living room decorated into a garage. Because you want to be a masked artist. For the sake of concealment, you can only do this. In fact, if you are sure that you will be popular, even if you don't show your face, the garage must be prepared, so as not to be targeted as soon as you come to the office. Igarashi Runa stepped out of the car, shrugged and spread his hands. As she spoke, she pressed the remote control key in her hand, and the electric rolling shutter door of the garage slowly lowered. "Let's go." When the rolling shutter door was completely lowered, Ninomiya Chizuru also got out of the car. She was very tall in high heels. Even wearing sunglasses and a mask, she still had an extraordinary aura, and she was wearing a big windbreaker. Miss Ninomiya looks like a star. Seeing her actions, Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but look sideways and sighed. In terms of meticulous actions, she is much more careful than herself, and she is simply a star model. You should learn more. Seeing this exemplary action, Igarashi Runa also said lightly. After that, they started walking. Obviously, except for Kurosawa Hikaru, this is not the first time these two people have been to this place. Through a door, there was a corridor with stairs at the end, and they walked directly into the door on the opposite side. Entering the room, Kurosawa Hikaru also looked at it. This place is very much like a standard office, with cabinets, a water dispenser, a desk, a sofa, and a long table. Overall, it is quite spacious. This is my office and the reception room. If guests come in the future, they will be received here. Unless I call you, try not to get close to here and just stay upstairs. When he finished looking around, Igarashi Runa explained. No problem, Kurosawa nodded. The space on the first floor is actually quite large, with 2 spare rooms, a bathroom, and a kitchen, all fully equipped. Is there only one office? Don't need to recruit staff. Going to the second floor, Kurosawa Hikaru was a little surprised. If necessary later, just free up those 2 rooms and renovate them. They are currently being used as utility rooms. My career is not stable yet. I need to completely fix the direction and outsource various duties, Runa Igarashi pointed. The empty room on the side. Really? Kurosawa thought for a moment and nodded. At present, their business has not started yet, so there is no need to recruit workers directly. They will make plans after stabilizing. Your future work area will be on the second floor, and the rest area will be on the third floor, Igarashi Runa also explained while going upstairs. And the third floor? Kurosawa Hikaru was a little surprised. According to the scale, the building was at least more than 100 square meters, and it was still 3 floors. Otherwise, why do you think the rent is so high? Thanks to Chizuru's investment, in this case, there is no need to worry about your true identity being discovered. Igarashi Runa shrugged, not forgetting his best friend. It's still possible, such as recruiting workers in the future. Ninomiya Chizuru is particularly concerned about her identity being exposed. That's indeed possible, but it's not a big problem. Just take your time. Sensing her concerns, Igarashi Runa naturally understood and comforted her. After walking through the stairs to the second floor, Igarashi Runa began to introduce. This room is the staff lounge, that is the utility room, this is the dressing room, toilet, and this side is the recording studio. After that, she started walking towards the stairs. Won't you go in and take a look? Kurosawa was a little surprised to find that she was going to the third floor. To be honest, he is already a little geared up and eager to try, and wants to see the stage where he can show off his talents as soon as possible. We arrived at the recording studio last. That's the most important step. Let's go to the third floor first. There are 4 rooms here, yours, mine, Chizuru's, and a common room that can be used as our meeting room. There are bathrooms and toilets. Are you going to live here in the future? Kurosawa Hikaru listened to her identification and wrote down each one, but he was also puzzled. How is that possible? It's just to prevent busy business. I have to work overtime. It will be too troublesome to go back late. Prepare a few rooms. Igarashi Runa shook her head. Are you kidding? It was so expensive to buy her house. If you can live in it, you must go back home. Indeed, this house is very well rented. Kurosawa thought about it, and it made sense. I started running around looking for a house on the day I resigned. My legs were weak from running. The environment is naturally good, and the location is also very good. It takes 12 minutes to walk to the subway station, 8 minutes to the bus station, and there are various shops nearby. After finally mentioning this, Igarashi Runa stood with arms akimbo, very proud. Actually, she didn't run for long because she had a wide network of contacts. She put forward her needs and drove to 8 places before choosing one. Following her triumph, Ninomiya Chizuru, who was standing next to Kurosawa Hikaru, moved a little closer and whispered. Hearing this whisper, Kurosawa Hikaru glanced at her, a little surprised and amused. Maybe she was with her best friend, but Miss Ninomiya would do such a little trick to put others down. We're already in the house, do you still want to wear sunglasses? Kurosawa smiled, noticed that she was still wearing glasses and a mask, and asked. Perhaps because of the parallel world, there is no epidemic in this world. Upon hearing this reminder, Ninomiya Chizuru did not speak, but silently took off her glasses. Wearing a mask can improve one's appearance, because having a pair of good-looking eyes is a special bonus. For someone who is already beautiful, wearing a mask adds a bit of mystery, which is an added bonus. After taking off her sunglasses, Chizuru Ninomiya's already cold and delicate appearance gave people a stunning and mysterious feeling because she was wearing a mask. Her eyes were breathtaking. It's beautiful. Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but admire her when he saw her beautiful eyes. What's so beautiful about this? Ninomiya Chizuru met his affectionate eyes. Hearing such sincere praise, she couldn't bear it immediately. Her face was hot under the mask, her voice had no confidence, and she was a little embarrassed. Finding that she was a little shy, Kurosawa Hikaru reacted and felt a little hot-skinned. Igarashi Runa actually heard Chizuru's whisper just now, but seeing that she had interacted with Kurosawa Hikari, he didn't want to expose it. Rather, she was happy to see this result. Those rooms haven't bought new beds yet, and they haven't been decorated yet. We can't live in them for the time being. Let's go down. After waiting for a while, because they were very embarrassed and there was no further sign, Igarashi Runa simply interrupted. But after visiting the house, the three of them returned to the second floor. Behind this door is the starting point of our career. Are you ready? Arriving in front of the double doors of the recording studio, Igarashi Runa turned around and said solemnly. Ready. Hot-blooded emotions are contagious. When Kurosawa Hikaru heard her say this, he felt refreshed. Put your hands up, I will count down to 3, then push the door open and walk in together. Seeing his expression, Igarashi Runa smiled, put her hand on the door, and greeted. Although it's a bit childish, there still needs to be a sense of ritual. Kurosawa Hikaru and Ninomiya Chizuru looked at each other, and immediately stretched out their hands and pressed on the door. 3 palms were pressed against the door. Because they were placed on a flat surface, the contrast was very obvious. Maybe it's because she's about 1.6 meters tall, but Igarashi Runa's hands are small and painted with nail polish, which makes her very cute. Ninomiya Chizuru's hands are larger, with slender fingers, no manicure, white and clean, and the nails are a bit long, very beautiful. As Kurosawa Hikaru looked at him, Igarashi Runa began to count down. 3, 2, 1. Boom. The 3 of them worked together, the double doors were pushed open, and they took steps. This step is like taking a brand new step and starting a new life journey. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 122. After stepping through the double doors, it was not a recording studio, but a very spacious room that looked like a living room. There is a sofa in the spacious place. Looking to the right, it is probably the recording studio. It is a partition with an independent window wall. Behind the window wall was the recording studio. From a distance away, Kurosawa could see a huge object covered by black cloth in the room. It was obviously a piano. Beyond that, there's a lot of equipment outside that is obviously something a recording studio needs to have. The wall you look at is a black soundproof cotton wall, which looks very solemn and serious. Seeing this scene, Kurosawa Hikaru glanced at Igarashi Runa in surprise. It's hard to imagine that this was prepared in just a few days. Should I say that money can make things work, or that the action is efficient? Come on, come into the studio and perform a song for us. Seeing his amazed expression, Ninomiya Chizuru's beautiful eyes slightly curved, and then she said happily. He invested 100 million in entrepreneurial capital when he first started his business, and he was not disappointed. In fact, she doesn't really care about money, as long as Kurosawa is happy. Okay, Kurosawa Hikaru nodded, and immediately took the lead and walked over. He opened the heavy door of the recording studio and walked inside. It may be because the exhaust fan is turned on. Even though this room has just been renovated and everything is brand new, there is not much smell in the room. It is a little bit but not a big problem. Compared to this, Kurosawa Hikaru walked to the black cloth and a chair. "You're welcome, just open it. This is a gift from Chizuru." Igarashi Runa followed him in and was a little happy to see his happy look. There are some words that Chizuru can't say, so let her say them. Hearing this, Kurosawa glanced back, then nodded slightly, gently grabbed the black cloth, and opened it. With the black cloth no longer covering it, a black grand piano with exquisite shape, graceful streamlines and a work of art appeared in front of him. So beautiful. Perhaps it was the permanent reward of piano proficiency, which brought countless years of experience. Kurosawa looked at the piano in front of him and was sincerely surprised. It was huge, tall, and long, and the material was so good that it was mesmerizing. Compared with the piano in the restaurant that day, the difference in specifications could be seen just at a glance. If the piano in that Western restaurant is third-rate, then this one is definitely first-rate. Runaway has already asked someone to tune it. I don't know what you think. Do you want to audition it first? Seeing his expression as if he had received the best gift, Ninomiya Chizuru was also genuinely happy and said. She likes piano very much, but her parents didn't allow it before. Now it's too late to learn piano after leaving society, and she always has regrets in her heart. But now, Kurosawa not only likes piano, but also has such superb piano skills. Giving him a first-class piano can satisfy his regret. Kurosawa didn't speak, just nodded, and then gently pressed his hand on the keys. Do. The sultry timbre and extremely sensitive touch made Kurosawa Hikaru's lips curl up. If a worker wants to do his job well, he must first sharpen his tools. At this moment, he was extremely convinced of this sentence. He had an extremely strong feeling of pride bursting in his chest. With this piano in his hand, he could conquer the world. Immediately afterwards, Kurosawa Hikaru began to press the keys one by one. Different from the rough audition at Magic Star Studio, his movements were very gentle, and he understood it patiently and carefully. This step was very long, but the two women waited patiently and closed the door. After trying out the last note, Kurosawa Hikaru sat down. Seeing him finally sitting down, Igarashi Runa was so excited that she touched her best friend with her arm, as if to say, "He's coming." Ninomiya Chizuru's mood was also lifted up, with some expectation. These days, Runa has been bragging to her about how amazing Kurosawa Hikaru's Flight of the Bumblebee is, and now she can finally see it. It's not Flight of the Bumblebee that I'm going to play. Sensing their silent anticipation, Kurosawa Hikaru turned back to look at them and explained in advance. Since it was his first performance, he did not want to play the Fast and Furious Flight of the Bumblebee but wanted to play the Croatian Rhapsody. Not a flight of bees. Hearing this sentence, Igarashi Runa couldn't help but feel pity. She really wanted to hear it again. The same goes for Ninomiya Chizuru. She really wants to listen to the piano music arranged by Kurosawa Hikaru. Immediately afterwards, Kurosawa raised his hands high, slowly placed them on the piano, and began to play. The next moment, the sultry and crisp reverberating piano sound resounded throughout the recording studio. Just for a moment, the eyes of Igarashi Runa and Ninomiya Chizuru widened. In the field of music, there is a saying of kneeling with your mouth open, which means that as soon as you open your mouth, you will amaze the audience. Nowadays, Kurosawa Hikaru's performance is undoubtedly like this, just like the sound of nature. In just a moment, people are drawn into the world of music. OMG! Ninomiya Chizuru was amazed and shocked. For example, the fur Elise played in the Western restaurant was as gentle as the evening breeze, leading people into the gentle music and gradually reaching the climax. Then this piece of piano music that I have never heard before is like waves hitting my face. The waves rush over each other and sweep people into the ocean. Looking at such a handsome and extraordinary man in front of the piano, playing the enchanting piano music, Ninomiya Chizuru was entranced. I made the right choice. Although Igarashi Runa has never learned an instrument, she has listened to countless works. Because of this, she can feel the potential of this piano piece. In the previous song Flight of the Bumblebee, which even Miya Hamada recognized very much, she fully appreciated Kurosawa Hikaru's superb piano skills and became addicted to it. Using this as the confidence, she resolutely resigned from her annual salary. Up to 20 million jobs. Having said that, she felt a little uneasy in her heart. Although her business ability as an agent was strong, she had lost the company as her backer. Can she really make Kurosawa famous? But now, the worries in her heart were directly dispelled by this piano music. Because of the Kurosawa Hikaru in front of her, she felt like she was watching a piano master perform. His elegant and calm posture was so beautiful. That's right, it's beauty, not handsomeness, it's a wonderful feeling that makes people fall in love with it. The duration of Croatian Rhapsody is only more than 3 minutes, and it ends quickly. However, until Kurosawa Hikaru retracted his hands, Ninomiya Chizuru and Igarashi Runa still couldn't come to their senses for a long time. The first time I heard this piano music, the impact was very shocking. Before they could recover, Kurosawa Hikaru continued playing. This time, he chose Exodus, one of Maxim's 3 famous songs. This piece of music is majestic and shocking. The piano alone is not enough to fully experience its charm. But even so, Kurosawa Hikaru has been composing the music seriously since Monday night, trying to restore the feeling as much as possible. How does the second song feel? When the playing was over, Kurosawa Hikaru finally spoke. It's nice, but not as good as the first one. Ninomiya Chizuru had already calmed down while playing. Then don't let it go for now. Kurosawa Hikaru was not surprised by this result, he just wanted to give it a try. Exodus is awesome, but it's not suitable for solo piano. It's impossible to fully express its charm with just one instrument. It requires a band. Which song will you play next? Igarashi Runa was still not satisfied and wanted to hear more, just like listening to a concert. Flight of the Bumblebee. Kurosawa met her expectant eyes and said a name with a smile. Finally coming. Hearing this name, Igarashi Runa was very excited. Because she was very excited, Ninomiya Chizuru was also looking forward to it. The next moment, Hikaru Kurosawa started playing Flight of the Bumblebee. Just for a moment, the dense and frequent notes exploded instantly. Wow! When Chizuru Ninomiya saw his performance, her scalp felt numb and goosebumps appeared all over her body. Although I had heard about it before, seeing it with my own eyes was still very shocking. This piano piece is even more impactful than the Croatian Rhapsody. No matter who you listen to it, you will definitely be impressed. But unlike his previous performance at Magic Star Studio, Kurosawa's piano skills are even stronger. From beginner to proficient, it is just a leap of one level, but there is a huge difference. Better playing. Even though Igarashi Runa was mentally prepared, she was still shocked when she heard it again. Because the flying of the bumblebee is not only an auditory enjoyment, but also a visual enjoyment. The almost dazzling fingering is a pleasure to watch. She had an intuition that Flight of the Bumblebee and the first piano piece alone would be enough to make Kurosawa famous. This piece is the shortest, because the fingering is very fast and it is over in a blink of an eye. Snap, snap, snap. When Kurosawa Hikaru put away his hands, Ninomiya Chizuru couldn't help but applaud. Different from just now, When she looked at Kurosawa Hikari again, her eyes were full of surprise and admiration. Although she saw him playing the piano, she really didn't expect that Kurosawa Hikaru was so good. Which piano piece is your favorite, Miss Ninomiya? Kurosawa Hikaru felt a sense of satisfaction well up in his chest when she looked at him, and he said immediately. The first song you just played, what's its name? As soon as these words came out, Ninomiya Chizuru could feel that he wanted to play it to her and said immediately. Maybe she had other favorite piano pieces before, but now that has changed. No moment can compare to the moment just now. Because at that moment, Kurosawa Hikaru used the gift she gave him to play a perfect and beautiful piano piece. The feeling was unique. Croatian Rhapsody. Although Kurosawa Hikaru wanted to say the original name, but considering the origin of the original work, he said so. What a strange name. Hearing this name, Igarashi Runa was a little surprised. The Rhapsody is all based on folk music themes. Have you been to Croatia? As a super academic, Ninomiya Chizuru has some strange ideas about this country. I haven't been there, but I accidentally learned about this country when I was reading world history. This is really a rhapsody. Realizing that he had created this piece of music like this, Ninomiya Chizuru couldn't help but sigh. Indeed. Kurosawa Hikaru shrugged slightly. Perhaps it is not ethical to pretend to be the original author, but there is no other way. He can't say that he is a reborn person from another world, right? The only thing he can do is to let Maxim's works resound in this parallel world and let people feel its charm. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 123. After playing in the recording studio for more than an hour, at 7:30 p.m., the takeaway arrived. The reason why I didn't go out to eat was because if I went outside, I might be seen by others. In order to avoid trouble, I ordered takeout and ate in the lounge on the third floor. It's too exaggerated. You played even better than last time. It feels like your level has improved a lot. Igarashi Runa was sitting at the table. The excitement she had just felt in the recording studio had not yet dissipated from her body. The difference in the piano is thanks to Miss Ninomiya for choosing such a good piano. Kurosawa smiled and gave the credit to others. After all, he can't say that the reason why the level gap is so big is because he went on a date with Saifunja Yuan Mirai, got a reward, and upgraded his piano skills, right? As soon as these words came out, no one answered. Both of them looked at Ninomiya Chizuru. I saw her holding her hair with one hand and taking a bite of ramen. Although she didn't wear lipstick on a working day, her lips were glossy because of the oil soup, making her look very sexy. The movements were very elegant and appropriate, and had a refined charm. You have to rely on your own strength to make iron. After taking a bite of ramen, Ninomiya Chizuru spoke. The decoration and layout of the lounge had not been completely completed, only the basic parts had been solved. They sat at a high table. This was chosen by Igarashi Runa because if the table was too short, bending over to eat would lead to indigestion and would not be comfortable enough. Kurosawa Hikaru feels that when she gets married in the future, she will definitely be a virtuous, fashionable, and hot mom. She may be dressed very well and look very delicate at first glance, but in fact she is very good at housework and can think of everything. How do you look so good when you eat ramen? At this moment, Runa Igarashi sighed. The key is to look good and look good in whatever you do. These words spoke Kurosawa's heartfelt voice, and he immediately agreed. It was like a category he had seen in his previous life, the cute dolphin category. As long as it was a group of beautiful girls, no matter what they did, people would watch and enjoy it. The key is not what you do, but the charm of the character. Where can I eat something quickly? Didn't you say you were hungry just now? Ninomiya Chizuru didn't expect them to say this, and felt a little embarrassed for a moment. She didn't do anything, just to prevent her hair from being splashed by the ramen soup. I'm gonna start now. Seeing that she was a little shy, Kurosawa Hikaru and Igarashi Runa looked at each other, smiled at each other, and started eating. It didn't take long for them to finish the ramen. By the way, the 2 sets of clothes you asked me to customize will arrive tomorrow. Don't tell me, because you are masked and you save money on the makeup artist. Leaving the high table and going to the sofa area to sit down, Igarashi Runa relaxed her body and sat on the back of the sofa chair and also said. She crossed her legs but spread her arms. Because of her lowered body, her bulging figure was even more obvious against the backdrop of the camisole. Seeing that her action was not revealing, but it was very indecent, Ninomiya Chizuru sat next to her and gave her a gentle push. Are you coming tomorrow? After school on Friday, I'll try it on again. Can't you come tomorrow? My plan is to start preparations for shooting on Friday, officially shoot on the weekend, and upload after post-processing. I have tutoring lessons on Tuesday and Thursday, Kurosawa explained with a slight shake of his head. Why don't you stop being a tutor? You've already become an artist. Based on your ability, you won't have to worry about money soon. After hearing this, Runa Igarashi suggested after thinking about it. It's not a question of money, but I've been tutoring for more than a year, and I will take the college entrance examination in about half a year, so I have to be responsible to the end. What's more, my hourly salary as a tutor is as high as 20,000, and I rely on others to support me. You can't be ungrateful. Kurosawa Hikaru had already expected this proposal, but he also thought about his words. In fact, after he came to Tokyo, he was able to rent an apartment outside and live without worrying about food and clothing. This was largely due to this tutoring job. All right. Hearing such a statement, Igarashi Runa felt that it would be unkind if she persisted. Then come Friday to try on clothes, rehearse and prepare, shoot on Saturday, and upload the video on Sunday. Immediately, she rearranged her travel time. I have something to do on Saturday. Kurosawa Hikaru raised his hand and said again. Chizuru Ninomiya doesn't say much when it comes to such business decisions. After all, she is not a professional. What's up? But after hearing this, she couldn't hold it back any longer and couldn't help but say. Something happened on Saturday. Could it be that I had a date with a girl? I promised teacher Yosuji of the Kyoto Club to participate in club activities. Under her gaze, Kurosawa Hikaru subconsciously thought of a reason. Although he was determined to take it all, he still felt guilty in front of her and could not muster the courage to show off his cards for the time being. Hearing this reason, Ninomiya Chizuru didn't doubt it and just nodded. You are really a busy person. Immediately afterwards, Igarashi Runa couldn't help but complain. He hasn't even become a big star yet. Kurosawa Hikaru is so busy. If he becomes a big star in the future, wouldn't it be even more difficult? No way. Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't do anything about it. Then let's take Friday and Sunday. Press the time tighter and try to start work this week. Is that okay? Igarashi Runa didn't force it, he thought about it for a while and then said. Okay. Kurosawa nodded. Then I'll invite a director to the office. Meet the director. Making a video is not as simple as starting and ending the shooting. We also have to consider a series of elements such as scene layout, lens switching, shooting details, and post-production editing to shoot a good video. In order to be a blockbuster, I plan to be the first the video is shot in the MV way. Seeing that he didn't understand, Igarashi Runa smiled and told her plan. If possible, she hopes Kurosawa will become famous instantly. Miss Runa, I have an idea. I wonder if I can share it? Kurosawa Hikaru heard this decision and said after careful consideration. Sure. Honestly, I think it's a bit hasty to hire a director right from the start. Why? Because if the starting point is too high, it will be more difficult to give people a feeling of surprise and progress. According to my idea, the first video is of a flying bee, which simply records my playing piano and switches the camera. I have also considered that I will first gain some fame and accumulate some fans, and the second part will be Croatian Rhapsody, which will become an instant hit on the internet. Do you want us to just invite photographers? There is no need to hire a photographer. The subject of the first video is my piano, not the lens. All I need to do is adjust the camera parameters, light it, and fix the shooting. You are right. If the commercial atmosphere is too strong, it may be counterproductive. But carefully crafted things are more enjoyable to watch. Your flying bees are a feast for the eyes and ears. This way, the full effect cannot be achieved. After hearing his plan, Igarashi Runa thought for a while and then said, "To cover everything will put people off. We want to be high-end, but not high-end. Why? What I want is to generate enthusiasm among piano lovers. Positivity. I played Flight of the Bumblebee and released the sheet music so that piano enthusiasts could follow suit and play the song to help us promote it." Kurosawa nodded slightly and revealed his plan. According to his impression, in his previous life, Flight of the Bumblebee, a song that seemed to show off his skills, had caused music lovers to follow suit and imitate him. Do you think this song will get people jumping on the bandwagon? Seeing his confident eyes and smile, Igarashi Runa was a little surprised. Well, then I'll listen to you once. If the effect is not good this time, then Croatian Rhapsody will be carefully packaged. After much thought, Igarashi Runa decided to listen to him. This time they started their business, they were going to take an unconventional route. Although she was better at packaging and publicity, Kurosawa's talent at the piano was so superb that it might not be a bad thing to trust his judgment and give it a try. The summer vacation will be over soon. It's best to put your career on track while you're at school. Ninomiya Chizuru reminded him when he heard this. I understand that communication among students is important for publicity. Kurosawa Hikaru nodded and had an idea of this. Compared to the summer vacation, when students are spread out, the situation where students gather together during school hours is definitely more conducive to publicity. Moreover, it is not a movie release or a concert. With a mobile phone, you can watch the video anytime and anywhere, which is more convenient. That's why I'm in a hurry. Speaking of which, these are the storyboards and music scores I drew. Kurosawa Hikaru saw that she was a little anxious. After thinking about it, he took out a stack of paper from his school bag, placed it on the table, and pushed it over. Storyboard. Ninomiya Chizuru was a little surprised when she heard this. It's the whole process of the first shooting. I thought about the process. Although it's not the whole process, you can see what I think. Your drawing skills are really good. If you have this ability, why don't you consider becoming a cartoonist? Igarashi Runa took the paper and looked at it for a few times before being shocked. On the paper, there was an image of 0 Hour drawn. If what I saw before was a character drawing, now it is like reading a comic. The virtual identity of 0 Hour seems to have come to life. Cartoonists live short lives. Kurosawa Hikaru was not interested. Indeed. Igarashi Runa was amused and laughed out loud, agreeing very much. Although the commercial value is very high, because creating comics is a laborious task, occupational diseases are prone to occur. Ninomiya Chizuru tilted her head slightly to watch with her, without speaking, just staring. As they watched, Kurosawa Hikaru said nothing, just waiting for his thoughts. But at this moment, a line of words appeared in front of his eyes. Date mission, outdoor sketching trip with Ninomiya Chizuru. Mission goal, travel alone with her and go outdoor sketching at least 150 kilometers away from Tokyo. Use her as a model and draw a portrait for her. Sit with her by the river, or in a small soaking feat by the stream make her shy 3 times. Task duration, 240 hours. Dating funds, entry-level painting skills, entry-level cooking skills, Japanese food, entry-level cooking skills, Western food. Experience card. Task rewards, entry-level painting skills, entry-level cooking skills, Japanese food, entry-level cooking, Western food. Permanent. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 124. Coming. After reading the date mission, Kurosawa Hikaru was shocked. The cooking skills he had been looking forward to before were finally here. What shocked him even more was that several of the paintings he drew actually met the triggering conditions for the date mission. Obviously, Miss Ninomiya has a favorable impression of people who can draw, just like she also has a favorable impression of boys who can play the piano. There is no doubt that the painting skills he showed this time touched a certain idea in Miss Ninomiya and aroused the desire for a date. It has been 10 days since the previous playground date. In contrast, his date mission with Xiaoyuki was triggered very frequently. Regarding this point, I'm afraid it also has something to do with personality. Xiaoyuki is a typical love brain, and she is also a bad student. She doesn't study all day long, so she naturally misses him. But Miss Ninomiya is very busy at work and doesn't have much time to think about things. She is also unwilling to contact him proactively, so it is difficult to trigger the date task. There is really no need to package it carefully. Just take this storyboard and introduce yourself first, and then take a picture of you playing the piano. After reading the storyboard, Igarashi Runa couldn't help but flick the paper with her fingers, becoming more and more convinced. She could imagine that various camera switches could indeed show a cool feeling and increase the character's charm, but the calm dazzling skills in the storyboard gave people a more restrained charm. If you think about it carefully, Kurosawa Hikaru's shape design for 0 Hour seems to be for this purpose. The piano form is a reserved and calm mysterious gentleman, while the singing form is a crazy and generous style. The painting is really good. Ninomiya Chizuru also finished reading, and raised her eyes to look at Kurosawa Hikaru on the sofa opposite. She praised him for being sincere, and her beautiful eyes seemed to be shining. This Kurosawa Hikaru, only after she really got along with him did she realize that he had so many advantages. If I have the chance, I'd like to draw you. Seeing the look in her eyes, Kurosawa was a little touched and mustered up the courage to speak. What do you want to draw me for? Ninomiya Chizuru didn't expect him to come suddenly, so she was stunned and a little embarrassed. In fact, she had imagined that, if she got married in the future, if her husband would paint, they would be alone together, she would be a model, and her husband would paint her. But suddenly, Kurosawa Hikaru said something like this, which made her heart beat faster. You want to draw Kyns? Is this painting serious? In this regard, Kurosawa Hikaru wanted to say something more, but before he could speak, Igarashi Runa clenched her fist in front of her mouth and coughed lightly to show that she was still there, and joked. As she spoke, she also winked to prevent the matter from continuing to unfold. Some words are only suitable for two people to say alone. She is not afraid of being a light bulb, but Kyns is thin-skinned and reserved. If she continues like this, she may not be able to do anything. Of course it's serious. Kurosawa Hikaru noticed her assist, suppressed the impulse in his heart, and responded. It's so dangerous. If Miss Runa, a god-level wingman, wasn't by his side, he might have said some disgusting words in the excited state just now. If it's a serious painting, even if Kyns agrees, I won't agree. After successfully changing the topic, Igarashi Runa spoke righteously. Runa, what are you talking about? When Ninomiya Chizuru heard this, she also reacted. She punched her with her fist and cursed with a smile. Just kidding. Igarashi Runa was punched with a bright smile and it didn't hurt at all. While complaining about the fight, Ninomiya Chizuru was also aware of Kurosawa Hikaru's thoughts. If it is a serious painting, then it doesn't seem to matter even if I serve as a model for him. After all, it is a serious painting. As she couldn't help but cast her gaze, even though he didn't say anything, Kurosawa Hikaru also realized that there was something going on. I have to say that Ms. Runa really assists every move she makes, and there are basically no problems. Should it be said that as a best friend, she understands her too well? After reading the storyboard, they couldn't quite understand the music score, but they could fully feel its value. I'm going to call the director and apologize to him. After chatting like this for a while, Igarashi Runa stood up, left a few words and walked out of the room. As she walked out and closed the door, the room suddenly became a man and a woman, alone together. The two people were alone and looked at each other. They were a little uncomfortable and looked away. Different from the life guidance room at school, excluding the haunted house, this was the rare time they were alone together. Ninomiya Chizuru brushed her hair with her hands and sat on the sofa. She couldn't see her feet through the coffee table, but her long legs stood side by side, and her knees were smooth, round and white. Miss Ninomiya, are you free next Saturday? Kurosawa clasped his hands together, thought about it for a while, thought about what to say, and then spoke. This time of being alone together was specially created by Ms. Runa, so she had to seize the opportunity. What's wrong? Ninomiya Chizuru turned back to look at him, her heart beating a little faster. In fact, she also noticed that Runa deliberately matched them, and she could imagine what Kurosawa Hikari was going to say. I want to go outdoors and sketch, and I was wondering if you could come with me. Kurosawa Hikaru looked directly at her. I don't know if I'll be free any day. I'll give you an answer later. Being stared at by him, Ninomiya Chizuru flipped up her hair and said calmly. Okay, I will wait for you. Kurosawa nodded, not in a hurry. This time was different from before. He didn't use any threats like if you don't agree, I'll find someone else. It's okay to use this trick once, but it can easily make people feel disgusted and create a rebellious mentality if used too much. Do you think your method can really be popular? Runa has been working very hard these days since she resigned. She should be able to gain something as soon as possible and get her career back on track. This should allow her to settle down. Ninomiya Chizuru changed the subject and talked about her worries. Although Runa was a workaholic before this, starting a business is no better than working part-time, especially in the early stages, before the career is stable, it is extremely tiring. There is a 99.87% chance that it will be popular, and a very small number of possibilities cannot be ruled out. Kurosawa Hikaru also cooperated, crossed his legs, clasped his hands on his knees, and said after thinking. Are you so confident? Why didn't you want to be an artist before? Seeing his calm and confident posture, Ninomiya Chizuru was a little curious. Before coming into contact with him, she never thought that Kurosawa Hikaru was such an all-around talent. In terms of academic performance alone, this boy has shown a very good side, but now he is like a treasure mountain. A top student, he can play the piano, has excellent physical fitness, can sing, and draw. He is also very handsome, elegant, and mature. Do you really want me to say it? Kurosawa Hikaru was asked about this and looked at her with burning eyes. Real. Ninomiya Chizuru noticed his attitude, vaguely realized something, her heartbeat accelerated a little, and she couldn't help but nodded. Because I want to spend more time with you outside of school. Kurosawa Hikaru took a deep breath and said. When Ninomiya Chizuru heard this, her pretty face and neck turned red all of a sudden. She felt shy but also secretly happy. He said it, he really said it. In fact, she also has this selfish intention. He supported Runa and Kurosawa Hikaru to start a business together. As a partner, he had a formal reason to meet him outside of school. Kurosawa Hikaru also smiled when he saw her cute reaction of being secretly happy and shy, which was a huge contrast. No matter how old a woman is, they are all the same, that is, they like to hear good things. Even if they are false, they will feel happy, and if they are true, they will be even happier. Making others happy is actually a happy thing. After more than 10 minutes, Igarashi Runa returned to the room. Okay, it's almost time tonight, let's break up the meeting? Or should we do something? She walked in the door dignifiedly, looked at Kurosawa Hikaru and Ninomiya Chizuru, and found that they were surprisingly quiet, but their expressions were normal, and she was immediately relieved. Let's adjourn. Ninomiya Chizuru knew that she had been running around these days and was very tired, and hoped that she would rest more. Gather here on Friday night and rehearse. Kurosawa Hikaru had no problem with this either. Let's go home and sleep. Igarashi Runa was indeed sleepy, even though it was after 8 o'clock in the evening, so she clapped her hands. After that, everyone stood up and started walking downstairs. Along the way, the lights were turned off, and finally the three of them arrived at the garage. Different from the afternoon, this time Kurosawa Hikaru sat in the back row with Ninomiya Chizuru. As she sat down, she took out her sunglasses and mask from her pocket and put them on again, very carefully. You will also prepare it later. Igarashi Runa, who was sitting in the driver's seat and fastened her seat belt, glanced through the rearview mirror and said, "Being so deliberate makes it more conspicuous." Kurosawa Hikaru felt that by doing this, he felt like there was no silver in this place, and it was difficult for others not to notice you. Of course, if you were on the street, it would be easy to be ignored, after all, there are so many people coming and going. But others can't see your face clearly. Do you want to reveal your identity? Okay. Kurosawa nodded, thinking it made sense. Immediately afterwards, the electric rolling shutter door began to open under the remote control of the key. After driving out of the garage, he stopped, closed the rolling door again, waited until it was completely closed, and then set off. It was already night at this time, and lights were on in every house on the street outside the car window. Along the way, Kurosawa Hikaru looked at the scenery outside the window and then at the people next to him. After hesitating, he inadvertently put his hand down and approached Ninomiya Chizuru's hand. He touched it lightly, and the skin was soft, smooth, and cold. The palm of the hand is a relatively sensitive part, so naturally this small movement cannot escape the detection of Ninomiya Chizuru. Ninomiya Chizuru pursed her lips slightly under the mask, and her heart beat a little faster. After hesitation, she still did not move her hand away, but turned her head slightly to look out the window, pretending not to notice. Following the probing, she received the tacit response, and Kurosawa Hikaru also placed his hand on the back of her hand. There was no light in the back seat of the car, which was a bit dark. In addition, it was late and I was relatively tired. The car was very quiet, but the two palms were folded together, and the hearts of the two people were open and loud. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 125. For the next 2 days, Kurosawa Hikaru went to school every day and then acted according to the schedule. For example, I have tutoring lessons on Thursday, and go to the office to rehearse and try on clothes on Friday. Moreover, he also said hello to Mr. Shuji to avoid revealing that he did not go to the Kyoto Club to participate in club activities. In a blink of an eye, the weekend is here. On Saturday, at 7:50 in the morning, Kurosawa Hikaru walked off the subway at Shinjuku Station, carrying large bags and a lot of luggage. This time he arrived early. After all, he brought a lot of things. It would be bad if he was late. But even though he arrived 10 minutes early, as soon as he got out of the car and walked a few steps, someone ran out of the crowd. "Brother Guang, good morning, why did you bring so many things?" That was Ichino's Yuki, running over quickly, until he braked in front of him, he asked curiously. While saying hello, she also looked at the big and small bags with curiosity, which seemed to be a lot. Is this the surprise that Brother Guang has prepared for her? But is this a little too much? It looked like Brother Guang was fully armed. Could it be that Brother Guang was going to take her on a trip during the weekend? I will be your photographer today. Kurosawa Hikaru faced her scrutiny. Because they finally met after a week, he no longer hid it from her and said with a smile. As soon as these words came out, Ichino's Yuki was immediately shocked. Brother Guang, do you know how to take pictures? Then she was pleasantly surprised. She had been looking forward to it for a whole week, and she made a lot of guesses, but she really didn't expect that Brother Guang would be her photographer. I've been studying it for a while. Kurosawa smiled and nodded. Even if you want to take pictures, isn't this too much? I'll help you get some. Ichino's Yuki realized that this was true. She was still surprised when she saw his big and small bags again and stretched out her hand. No, they are all necessary. I'll give you this bag. Seeing that she wanted to help, Kurosawa Hikaru was not polite. He took off the lightest satchel and handed it to her. Where are we going today? After receiving a satchel, Ichino's Yuki started to look forward to it. Brother Guang is her photographer, which is so new. Where do you usually shoot? Although Kurosawa Hikaru did a lot of research in advance through the internet, he thought about it and asked her first. After all, Xiao Yuki has been working as a graphic model for more than a year and has rich shooting experience. Parks, seaside, riverside, suburbs, overpasses, rooftops, stations, indoors, these places all have one thing in common, that is, the setting is good. It mainly depends on Mr. Kuriki's decision. He is the talker of the photography team. After hearing this, Yuki Ichino's thought for a while, counted them one by one with his fingers, and explained. Let's take the photo indoors and try it out first. Kurosawa Hikaru thought about putting on makeup, but he didn't have a makeup van to accompany him, so it was not convenient to go outdoors, so he made a decision immediately. Brother Guang, have you made a reservation for the interior studio? Ichino's Yuki nodded and asked as long as she was with him, it didn't matter where she went. Reserve. Kurosawa Hikaru, who was about to leave, stopped dead in his tracks when he heard this. The interior studios on weekends are usually booked a few days or a week in advance, and then rented for a minimum of 2 hours. Ichino's Yuki nodded. Although she did not need to be responsible for such matters, after all, she had been a model for a while, and she knew a lot under the influence of her eyes and ears. Are there any interior studios that don't require reservations? Kurosawa Hikaru was a little embarrassed. He didn't expect that there would be such a requirement for shooting interior scenes. I originally wanted to give her a surprise. If I had known this, I should have made it clear at the beginning. I don't know either. Let me ask Mr. Kuriki. Realizing that he was unprepared, Ichino's Yuki shook his head, then realized what he was doing and quickly took out his phone. There's no need to look for Mr. Kuriki, let's go to the hotel. Kurosawa Hikaru quickly stopped her. Someone else is Xiao Yuki's photographer, but now he's here to grab the job. It would be better if he just gets the finished product, but it's not good if he has to trouble others before he even starts. Hotel. Upon hearing this shooting location, Yuki Ichino stopped and looked up at him. The environment of the hotel can be about the same with a little decoration. Kurosawa Hikaru nodded. If it's not an interior studio, the lighting may not be very good. Yuki Ichino's heartbeat was a little faster, and he cautiously tested it. Does Brother Guang want to book a hotel room with her, or does he really want to film? Don't worry, I've got everything. Kurosawa Hikaru was not worried at all. He shook his head and gestured behind him. He was armed, but came prepared. It's a pity that he doesn't have a car, otherwise it would be more convenient to drive. Did you bring them all? Hearing this, Yuki Ichinose looked behind him in astonishment. Right. All right. Realizing that he really wanted to be a photographer today, Yuki Ichinose felt a little regretful, but nodded. In any case, it is a very rare experience for Brother Guang to be her photographer. Let's go. Kurosawa Hikaru nodded and immediately started to move. It was inconvenient to carry so many things on his back, and he wanted to put them down quickly. Considering that the photo would be posted online, Kurosawa Hikaru did not choose a love hotel. Instead, he chose a more formal star-rated hotel. It was a relatively high-end and spacious business room, and the price was also very expensive. From 6 o'clock to 24 o'clock, luxury business suite, 1 day off, 30,000 yen. After registering them at the front desk, they explained. For you. Without waiting for Kurosawa Hikaru to respond, Ichinose Yuki took out the money and handed it to the front desk. I charge you 30,000 yuan. This is your room key. Thank you for coming. When the lady at the front desk saw this scene, she couldn't help but glance at Kurosawa Hikaru, and then she continued to be businesslike and served with a smile. Why are you rushing to pay the bill? After taking the room card and taking the elevator, Kurosawa couldn't help but said. The look in the front desk lady's eyes just now was very strange. It is indeed a rare thing for a woman to pay for a room. Because you have always been asked to pay, I also want to share a little. Ichinose Yuki felt a little guilty, but she raised her head and said seriously. This was not the first time. She felt really bad about asking Brother Guang to pay so much money every time. In fact, she was happy enough as long as she was with Brother Guang, even if they didn't buy anything and just walked in the park together. But Brother Guang is very wealthy. Every time he takes her on a date, he never goes to a zero-consumption place like a park, but to a place with some consumption. For example, I spent 100,000 to go surfing, watch movies, and eat before, and even go on a first date. But this time it's a little pricey. Kurosawa Hikaru was naturally happy when he saw her attitude, but he didn't want her to spend money. After all, this girl's salary is only a little bit a month, and it costs 30,000 yuan to buy a room. Neon Hotel is really expensive. It doesn't matter. Sister Jinri and I have advanced next month's salary. Ichinose Yuki didn't care about this and explained with a smile. This time, let's use the funds from previous dates to advance the room opening. Kurosawa Hikaru still felt that it was not good to ask the woman to pay for the apartment, so he thought about it and said. How can that be done? The money given by Miss Igarashi is for us to use together. Hearing this decision, Ichinose Yuki shook his head. Aren't we dating now? Seeing that she disagreed, Kurosawa said immediately. Calculate. When Ichinose Yuki heard this question, he felt that he was very cunning and there was no way to deny it. Just treat me to dinner at noon and evening. Seeing that she was a little disappointed, Kurosawa reached out and touched her head and smiled. After getting the opportunity to spend money and being patted on the head, Ichinose Yuki finally became happy and nodded obediently. Soon, they took the elevator, arrived at the corresponding floor, and entered the room following the room card number. Call. After walking into the room and unloading everything, Kurosawa felt relaxed all over, stretching his shoulders and moving his muscles. Although these things are not very heavy, carrying so many things makes it inconvenient to move your hands and feet. Thanks for your hard work. Seeing his movements, Ichinose Yuki realized that the things he was carrying were quite heavy, and said a little embarrassed. Guang Gothic gave her something very light, but he was carrying so many things. Don't be so polite. Let's rest for a few minutes and start shooting again later. Kurosawa Hikaru turned back to look at her and smiled. Ichinose Yuki nodded, then walked to the bed and put down the satchel. What's in here? As she sat down, she glanced at the bag again, became curious, bent down and opened the zipper. She put her hand in and pulled out again, a skirt. Skirt. Itchy Nose Yuki loosened it and was stunned when she saw this fairy-like purple lace dress. I bought it for you for today's shooting. You can take it back after the shooting. Kurosawa Hikaru was sitting on the edge of the bed and said when he saw her discovering the skirt. Aren't you just taking pictures today? Itchy Nose Yuki didn't expect this to happen, and was a little stunned. Of course not, why else would you have kept a house open for so long? I'll be your photographer, and then I'll post the photos I take online to see if I can make you famous. Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head, he was very serious this time. After all, the results of this shooting may affect Xiaoyuki's career, even though she is still in high school. But after all, she is a bad student and has no intention of studying. It would be good to plan her future career direction as early as possible. But does it fit? Itchy Nose Yuki looked at the skirt in front of her. She could feel that the skirt was not cheap. If it didn't fit, she might be able to take it back. She was a little embarrassed because she had received many gifts from Brother Guang. It must fit. Have you forgotten what you told me about your measurements before? Kurosawa Hikaru was not worried at all. Yes. Itchy Nose Yuki lowered her head and blushed a little when she found that there were 2 sets of clothes in her bag. In order to help her with the shooting, Brother Guang even went out of his way to help her buy clothes. This incident not only made her excited, but also a little shy. This means that Brother Guang wants to take a few sets of photos for her? This was her first experience of taking photos alone in a hotel's business suite. In the past, she had always acted and helped as a team. 5 more chapters are here. Thank you very much for the reward from Shuju, the second leader. Today's 5 chapters include 2 chapters from the leader, and the result of everyone's hard work, 300 monthly tickets add 1 more chapter. In addition, I would like to report that I owe more chapters. The current average subscription is 2,700. According to the average subscription of 100, I owe 1 chapter, so I owe 27 chapters. This month should be the last day of 10,000. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 126. As she turned her clothes inside out, Kurosawa put everything down and started taking out things. An exquisite and brand new SLR camera was held in his hands. Brother Guang, did you buy a SLR specifically for this shooting? Itchy Nose Yuki was a little stiff when he saw his newly opened SLR. Although she didn't know much about cameras, this SLR looked very expensive at first glance. No, I bought it before. Last time I saw you working part-time as a model, I suddenly remembered that you still had this SLR, so I dug it out. Seeing her concerns, Kurosawa raised his hand and said. Fortunately, he had the foresight to guess that Xiaoyuki didn't want him to spend too much money, so he opened it in advance. Oh. Hearing this statement, Itchy Nose Yuki had no doubts and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. If Brother Guang bought this SLR specifically for her, she wouldn't know how to repay him. After all, she knew that Brother Guang wanted to help her shoot this time because he wanted her to post photos on the internet, accumulate fans and fame, and maybe be able to embark on the path of professional modeling in the future. Kurosawa looked at her sideways, and when he saw how relaxed she was, he couldn't help but curl his lips, then lowered his head to turn on the machine and debug it. Someone who really likes you will not want you to keep spending money on her, and may even want to spend money on you. This sentence was not something he had just said casually, but something he had truly experienced. The reason why I felt this way was because on the day I went on a date with Xiaoyuki at the beach, when I returned to Tokyo at night, she could have had a big meal, but she said she didn't like Western food and chose a cheaper restaurant instead. Shop, and paid secretly. Now, he also has more experience. For example, Miss Ninomiya is the most typical example. She directly invested 100 million to help him start a business. When people give, they desire something in return. Whether it's friendship or romance, it's the same. Only by rushing to each other and being good to each other can it last long and everyone can be happy. 68,000. At this moment, a scream came from the side. Kurosawa Hikaru turned around and saw Xiaoyuki holding the dress and looking at the tag that had not yet been cut off, with a shocked and at a loss expression on her face. Brother Guang, isn't this dress too expensive? Ichi knows Yuki originally liked this skirt very much, but when she saw the price, she felt bad. This skirt is particularly beautiful, whether it is the small details, the texture of the fabric, or even the overall design, but the price is too terrible. More investment is for more returns. The more high-end clothes you wear, the more upscale impression you will give. If you really have the opportunity to become a professional model in the future, you will be able to receive better endorsements and shoot. Kurosawa Hikaru regretted why he didn't cut off the tag, but now that the matter was over, there was no point in regretting it, so he simply comforted him. But we are not selling this filming, we are just posting it on the internet for everyone to watch for free. How are we going to make money back? After all, Ichi knows Yuki is JK, so she doesn't know anything about investing. She fell into chaos while grabbing her skirt. For her, 68,000 yen for a dress is already a sky-high price. After all, the most luxurious dresses she usually buys cost more than 10,000 yuan at most. Who said we need to make money back from this shooting? Don't you make money? The purpose of our photo shoot is to accumulate fame and fans for you and pave the way for your career as a professional model. And this dress is not only for this photo shoot, it is also a gift from me. Hikaru Kurosawa didn't counting on making money as a photographer, explained. But Ichi knows Yuki was a little confused. She looked at him and then at the skirt in her hand that she liked very much. She wanted to say that she would take it back and return it after the shooting, but when she heard about the gift, she was a little reluctant to part with it. Because this is the first gift that Brother Guang gave her. After a moment of silence, she gritted her teeth, took out her wallet and opened it. There was only 6,500 yuan in the wallet, not even a small change. Realizing that he was really poor, Ichi knows Yuki couldn't help but feel a little downcast. You can put it on and show me later, that's enough. Seeing her expression changing and reacting every few seconds, Kurosawa Hikaru was really enjoying watching her and comforted her. But this is not the sexy kind of clothes. Ichi knows Yuki didn't think this was a reward. If it were a more revealing and sexy photo, it might satisfy some special needs. It's just because it's not sexy clothes that it can be put on the internet. If it's sexy, I won't be willing to put it on the internet for people to see you. Kurosawa gave her a sideways look, interrupting her wandering thoughts. 50,000, 70,000. Hearing his possessive words, Ichi knows Yuki was a little happy, and then continued to look at the other two sets of clothes, unable to help but click her tongue. Seeing her genuine reaction to surprise, Kurosawa smiled and continued to play with the camera. Although there is a gap between the skill experience card and the permanent one, as long as the camera is in hand, some relevant knowledge will emerge. For example, how to turn on the computer, how to adjust parameters, how to shoot, angles, there are many. However, he was at an entry-level level at most and didn't even bother to study the lens. He would consider it later. Brother Guang. At this moment, Yuki Ichino's climbed onto the bed and crawled over. Kurosawa Hikaru turned to look at her. As soon as I turned my head, a soft and slightly moist touch was released on my face. This feeling comes from Xiaoyuki's delicate lips covered with lipstick. Thank you. Itchy Nose Yuki kissed him, blushing a little, but her eyes were more moved and happy, and her eyes curved into two crescents when she smiled. She felt how much effort Brother Guang put into the shooting and date. This is not just a meeting and companionship, but also a huge amount of help and huge sums of money to help her shoot, hoping that she will become a professional model in the future. Any woman would be touched by such attentiveness, let alone her who is still young and in love. Seeing her proactive kiss and her cute smiling eyes, Kurosawa Hikaru was stunned. A pounding feeling was raging in his chest, and his face felt a little hot. In fact, Kurosawa Hikaru doesn't have much experience in dating. To be able to make her so happy, it was worth spending a huge amount of money this time. In fact, the money spent on clothes is just a fraction, and the SLR is the bulk. Yuki Itchy Nose, who was originally shy because of her own blushing, was shocked when she saw that his face was also slightly red. Brother Guang is actually shy. Is it because he was attacked by her this time? This is the reaction to a kiss on the face, but what about a kiss on the mouth? As her thoughts surged, her eyes couldn't help but move down and fell on Kurosawa's lips. If Brother Guang hadn't lied back then, it would have been his first kiss. Just like him, he didn't know if he would have a chance to kiss her today. Okay, let's start shooting first. Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but glance at her lips, and then said. We haven't done anything serious yet, so we can't mess up the steps. It's not too late to wait until later for an interaction like this. Seeing that he didn't mean it, Itchy Nose Yuki was a little discouraged, but he quickly gathered his energy. She would probably spend so much time in this hotel today, so she didn't believe she wouldn't have a chance. You go change your clothes first, put on your makeup and start shooting later. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't know what she was thinking, but seeing that she cheered up, he said. Which outfit to wear first? You choose. Then the first dress. Yuki Itchy Nose really liked her first purple lace dress. By the way, don't put your makeup on in the bathroom. Come out later and I'll put it on for you. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't care about the order, because all three sets of clothes had to be photographed, so he never forgot his instructions. Brother Guang, help me put on makeup. Yuki Itchy Nose, who got out of bed with her dress and put her feet into disposable hotel slippers, turned around after hearing this. I've learned makeup, don't worry. Kurosawa thought she was worried about her poor makeup skills and said immediately. It may be an introduction to makeup, and it's not a permanent reward, but he has taken the time to study the current popular makeup these days, so he should be better than Xiao Yuki. Okay. Itchy Nose Yuki was thoughtful, then stepped on her slippers and walked into the bathroom. Her legs are small and her slippers are quite big, which makes her look so cute. Watching her walk into the bathroom, Kurosawa Hikaru did not stay where he was, but picked up things and started getting ready. The deluxe business room is not just a room, but the bedroom and living room are separated. After all, it is going to be posted online. Taking it on the bed is easy for people to label it and misunderstand it, so it is better to take it in the living room. Setting the scene, adjusting the camera position, and lighting the board were all done in no time. Immediately afterwards, he opened another box and began to sort it out. Wow, so many cosmetics. Not long after, Yuki Itchy Nose walked out of the bedroom and was surprised. Although she didn't deliberately wear makeup to match her clothes, she looked very elegant and sweet with her wavy blonde hair and purple lace dress. It's just that because she wears very light makeup, it's more elegant, fresh, and a little cute. Should I say it or not, the makeup she wore on her date with Kurosawa Hikaru was a model of purity and lust. Nail art, eyelashes, contact lenses, sequins, long wavy hair, all are intact, but the eye makeup is very cute. Walking down the street with her, the number of heads turning is really amazing. You seem to be missing something. Kurosawa Hikaru looked at her for a few times, then looked at her smooth and small ankles under her skirt. She still had bare legs and feet, no stockings, and no sole. "Are you wearing too much?" Itchy Nose Yuki was a little surprised when he heard this. He lowered his head and looked at the clothes. There was only one dress, how could it be missing? There are 2 boxes of stockings in the middle of the bag. The black stockings match the skirt. Kurosawa Hikaru nodded, his heart beating a little faster when he said this. Although every man loves to watch it, it is still embarrassing to ask for it. "I gonna go see." Yuki Itchy Nose realized that she still had to wear stockings, but she didn't feel any strange. She just nodded and then turned around to take action. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 127. Is this the box? Soon, she came back with 2 boxes of things, glanced through the packaging, held them up and asked. "It's the black box." Kurosawa glanced at it and nodded. "Balenciaga? Aren't these expensive stockings?" Itchy Nose Yuki sat on the sofa and was a little surprised when she saw the sign. As a clothing model, she still has some knowledge about various brands. Even for stockings, there are many brands, and Balenciaga is famous and expensive, but actually not very cost-effective. Of course, its other styles, such as bags and so on, are still luxury goods. Yes, Kurosawa nodded. He didn't do much research on the brand of stockings. He was just wandering around in a clothing store, looking for a match, and accidentally discovered this one very accidentally. Hearing this, Itchy Nose Yuki originally wanted to say whether to return the product or exchange it for another brand, but she, who has very keen eyesight, suddenly noticed an uncertain gaze. This look came from Kurosawa Hikari, who glanced at him secretly and then moved away pretending to be nothing. "Brother Guang, does he like black stockings?" Itchy Nose Yuki was a little surprised in her heart. Thinking about it carefully, Brother Guang seemed to have noticed when she took off her stockings at the hotel on the night of their first date, but she didn't take it seriously at the time and just thought it was her actions that attracted other people's attention. But now, she hasn't even started to put them on yet, she's just holding a box of stockings. Brother Guang's eyes have become weird, and you can easily guess what's going on here. "I've never worn anything so expensive." Realizing that he might like it, Yuki Itchy Nose immediately gave up the thought of returning it, pretended not to notice it with a sigh, and completely opened it. It should be said that it is a famous brand. Even if the price/performance ratio is not high, it is because the price has raised the upper limit, which does not mean that the quality is low. The packaging is very exquisite. When you open it and take it into your hands, it feels delicate and soft, and the color is also very good. Immediately, she bent her legs and squatted on the sofa, and began to put them on. Because the purple lace dress is a long skirt, you don't have to worry about being exposed even if you do this. Even so, as he moved, his calves were clearly visible, and his feet were on the edge of the sofa. Following this movement, Kurosawa Hikaru lowered his head to tinker with the makeup box and took a quick peek. Her feet were very small and painted with fiery bright nail polish. Against the backdrop of her fair skin, the color contrast was very strong and eye-catching. Maybe because of squatting, the toes are slightly pressed together, like a cat's claw slightly flexed, which feels a bit cute. Soon, she held the Balenciaga in her hands, gently retracted it into a ball, pointed it at the toes, and wore it. That silky process is really silky smooth. According to the D number, these stockings are 20D, which is an ultra-thin and breathable style. They are like a layer of gauze that can be seen through with the naked eye, covering the feet. Then, she followed the same example, put on the other foot, straightened her legs, put her foot on the table and stretched it gently, wrapping her calf. Her movements were very skillful. After all, it was not the first time she had worn it. Because it was a long dress, Kurosawa could only see around his ankles and not much more. Of course, they were pantyhose after all. Yuki Ichinose stood up and pulled them up to her knees, but her movements stopped. "Brother Guang, can you turn around?" Yuki Ichinose is a little shy. Although she doesn't mind being looked at by Hikari, the feeling of being watched all the time while putting on stockings makes people quite embarrassed. "I'm not looking, okay," Kurosawa Hikaru explained, but seeing that she was so shy, it was probably not convincing, so he turned around. "All right." Soon, Ichinose Yuki was completely dressed. He lowered his head and tugged on the stockings to make them fit and stretch completely, then put down the skirt. Kurosawa turned around again and saw her standing on the carpet in front of the sofa. Those feet were wrapped in stockings and stepped on the carpet, which looked even more charming. The already slender calves are made more silky and soft by the trimming of stockings. There are Balenciaga's English words on them, which is very sexy. The printed logo with those letters makes people can't help but look up, wanting to see more, but the long skirt reaches a little above the ankle, which is very mysterious. "How about it?" Ichinose Yuki let him examine and size him up, waited for a while, and then asked. "Quite good looking." Kurosawa Hikaru is more face-saving and considers himself to be a gentleman. He said calmly after hearing this. Seeing him pretending to be calm, Yuki Ichinose couldn't help but snicker with the corners of his mouth curled up. Unexpectedly, Brother Guang, who looks so serious, actually likes legs, feet, and stockings. However, she didn't feel disgusted at all with this discovery, and was more secretly happy. Whether it's hair, neck, or waist, as long as Brother Guang likes it, that's fine. If I had known that he liked this, he would have worn stockings on the last few dates like the first time, instead of pursuing sweetness and purity and choosing to go bare legs. "Sit down and I'll do your makeup." Noticing her naughty snickering, Kurosawa Hikaru realized that she might have discovered that he was peeping, or was being shameless, and changed the subject. Yuki Ichinose sat obediently on the sofa. Immediately afterwards, Kurosawa lifted the makeup box and placed it on the table. "Brother Guang, how come you have such a complete makeup box?" Seeing this posture, Ichinose Yuki couldn't help but feel a little strange. She has more cosmetics than she does. Although she cannot compare with the makeup artists in the team, she is not far behind. "Bought specifically for you. Didn't that cost a lot of money?" When Ichinose Yuki heard this, she was immediately shocked. Cosmetics may seem like bottles and jars that are small and not very durable. In fact, each item is expensive. Judging from this, it seems that it is not a makeup set, but a lot of cosmetics purchased and put in one by one. "It's okay, don't move, I'm going to remove your makeup." Kurosawa Hikaru doesn't care much about money. As long as it can make her happy and help her, I can say anything. Among the girls currently, the one he is most worried about is Xiao Yuki. Because this girl was bullied at school, she became a hot girl and a scumbag. She didn't know how good her grades were. I'm afraid it would be difficult for her to get into college. If she can take advantage of this opportunity to become a professional model, her life will be worry-free in the future. Shall I take off my makeup myself?" Yuki Ichinose realized that he was about to take off his makeup, and his joyful thoughts immediately disappeared, and he had an urge to run away. Although Brother Guang had seen her without makeup, the experience of asking him to help remove makeup was too advanced. If the first shooting goes well, there will be many shootings like this in the future. Do you have to remove your makeup by yourself every time? However, as soon as she started to move, Kurosawa Hikaru held her shoulders, held her in place, and said seriously, "All right." Yuki Ichinose noticed that his attitude was very serious, and he seemed to have entered a certain working state. He also adhered to the professional principles of a model, calmed himself down, and allowed himself to be manipulated. "Let's begin." Immediately afterwards, Kurosawa Hikaru began to remove her makeup. It's not troublesome to remove the makeup, because unlike the hot girl makeup on multiple dates, now it's light makeup. Yuki Ichinose could do nothing but stay where he was and watch him wipe his face with makeup remover. Looking at the face right in front of him, looking at himself seriously, Yuki Ichinose's heart beat faster. This is the first time that I let a boy do my makeup, and it's a boy that I like. At this moment, time seemed to have frozen, and the room became quiet. The two of them faced each other. After removing their makeup, Kurosawa started to apply makeup on her. This was the first time that she had the time and leisure to look at Brother Guang's face and appearance in such a formal and close manner. The eyebrows are thick, the bridge of the nose is strong, the black eyes are deep and serious, the skin is smooth and flawless, and his lips look very sexy and attractive. After watching like this for a while, Ichinose Yuki was a little smitten. When he poked his head over, he couldn't help but tilt his head forward, trying to steal a kiss. "Don't move, you almost ruined your makeup." However, this attempt to steal the kiss failed. Kurosawa Hikaru quickly shrank his head and taught him a lesson. "Sorry." After the stolen kiss failed, Ichinose Yuki came back to her senses. Her pretty face immediately turned red. She felt ashamed and embarrassed for her behavior, and also felt a little lost. Brother Guang subconsciously avoided it just now. Why? Could it be that she had been wrong all along? In fact, Brother Guang didn't like her at all. It was just that she was looking forward to dating, so Brother Guang took the time to accompany him. Kurosawa Hikaru was holding an eyebrow pencil in his hand, and when he saw her lowering her head slightly, feeling shy, lost, and downcast, he came back from being seriously putting on makeup and noticed the reason for her actions just now. She wanted to kiss herself, not on the cheek like before, but on the kiss. "Look up." Kurosawa Hikaru took a deep breath and said solemnly. Hearing this, Yuki Ichinose raised her head obediently and asked him to continue putting on makeup. Immediately afterwards, Kurosawa Hikaru stretched out his hand to hold half of her cheek, looked at her pink and dewy lips after removing lipstick and makeup, bent down slightly, and gently bowed her head. The lips touched each other. The soft touch was like clouds touching marshmallows, embracing each other. It wasn't until they kissed each other that Ichinose Yuki came back from her lost thoughts. Her green eyes were shaking like a big earthquake, looking at the face so close at hand in disbelief. The body froze in place. "What's the situation? Brother Guang kissed me? What do I do?" This was her first kiss. She had never experienced it before. They suddenly kissed each other and she didn't know what to do for a moment. Gradually, she closed her eyes and used more senses to feel the kiss carefully. After dozens of seconds, Kurosawa Hikaru slowly retracted his lips. "Call." This kiss made Ichinose Yuki almost suffocated. When it ended, she quickly breathed. "Are you satisfied?" Kurosawa Hikaru still held her face, and smiled when he saw her face flushed and her breathing rapid. Yuki Ichinose nodded. "Originally, I thought I would wait until the filming was over and kiss you in the evening when the atmosphere was good, but I didn't expect you to be so anxious." Kurosawa Hikaru was relieved when he saw her cheering up, and joked with a smile. "It's because your face is so close to me. Stop laughing, you are such a bad boy." Being teased by him, Ichinose Yuki felt a little ashamed and angry. She punched him with her fist and couldn't help but move closer. Although he was scolding her, she couldn't stop smiling at all. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 128. Half hugging little Yuki and letting her head rest on his chest, Kurosawa Hikaru looked down at her, feeling filled with happiness in his heart. Perhaps because of the adolescent girl, her love is very young, very ignorant, and very shy, but it is also obvious and can make people feel it truly. This love is very pure, it doesn't want anything, it just likes you as a person. Okay, it's time to continue putting on makeup. After hugging her for a while, Kurosawa Hikaru gently patted her shoulder. Ichi nose Yuki nodded, hugged, and kissed her. She was in a particularly good mood at this time and was extremely happy. Because it's no longer holding hands, no longer kissing on the face, but a real kiss. She got Brother Guang's first kiss and gave her first kiss to Brother Guang. After a kiss, Ichi nose Yuki was considered honest. Rather, although she didn't dare to move, her feet were swaying, her heels hitting the sofa. It is obvious that she is very mature and exquisite, and she wears a sister-style outfit, but her movements are cute and cute. After all, she is a real JK. Done. After half an hour of tossing, it was finally over. Kurosawa Hikaru took back the curling iron. As the curling iron was untied, Yuki Ichino's wavy hair became even curlier. Let's see how it goes. Putting the things on the table, Kurosawa picked up a mirror and handed it to her. Yuki Ichino took it and looked at herself in the mirror, stunned for a moment. She looked like she had suddenly grown up several years in the mirror. Just looking at her face, she was absolutely beautiful. She had slender eyebrows and a slightly tired face. She looked like a mature and carefree person in her 20s. Lazy, noble, and cold lady. And her hairstyle, under the shaping of the curling iron, obviously did not change much. It was just a small detail, but it gave people a carefully designed feeling. In the past, she had no idea what she would look like in a few years, but now, she felt like this in the mirror. Wow, Brother Hikaru, your makeup skills are great, right? Even better than Sister Saki. Sister Saki is my makeup artist, Saki Katayama. Ichi nose Yuki was shocked and couldn't help but marvel. To be honest, she had no hope for Brother Guang's makeup skills. But now, she was really shocked. She had never thought that she could be so beautiful. I've been looking for makeup tutorials online this week and learned it. Hikaru Kurosawa also used the topic to explain why he wears makeup. Brother Guang, thank you. Realizing how much effort he had secretly put in for today, Yuki Ichino was so moved that he straightened up and wanted to kiss him. Don't take off the lipstick and makeup. However, Kurosawa Hikaru did not let her kiss him this time, but took a step back. It was finally done, but if a bit of lipstick came off, you still had to touch up the makeup. If you take it off, just melt it again. Seeing him retreat, Ichi nose Yuki opened her arms and said coquettishly. The contrast between the royal sister-style makeup and this cute and coquettish reaction is huge. Do business first. Seeing that she was not satisfied, Kurosawa took a step forward, lowered his head, and lightly pressed a mark on her delicate lips after applying lipstick, and then checked that the makeup was still there, and then said. If Sister Mari sees it, I don't know what her reaction will be. Yuki Ichino felt so sweet that she jumped off the sofa, stood up and spun around. She was very pleasantly surprised. Although you are not tall enough to be a runway model, you have good facial features and a good figure. If you are a graphic model, you have great potential. Kurosawa Hikaru saw her reaction was so excited, so he said it at the right time. These days, in addition to researching popular makeup on the internet, he also designs makeup for little Yuki taking into account her figure and appearance. In addition, he also investigated the situation of professional models and learned about the market. Yeah, Yuki Ichino nodded. Then let's start filming. Would you like to wear shoes? Don't take pictures of your feet. Let's take a few pictures first. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't want to pat her feet. Although foot control is all over the world and is a kind of traffic code, the clothes he bought were non-revealing and he didn't want to help her gain fame by being a sideshow. If you want to be a professional model, you rely on fame and image. Just becoming famous on the side won't last long. Of course, Kurosawa Hikaru is still possessive in his heart and doesn't want others to see his sexy side. Go and stand over there. I'll take a test shot first and see the effect. For the sake of career, Kurosawa Hikaru also started to work. Hearing these words, Ichi-nose Yuki put on her slippers, walked across the carpet and went to the wall. You can choose any pose and I will find the angle myself. The lighting board had been arranged before. This was the first shooting point. Kurosawa picked up the camera and pointed it at her. Entering the photography spot, Yuki Ichi-nose did not speak and began to pose. I have been a graphic model for more than a year. Although it is a part-time job, I have accumulated a lot of shooting experience. As she got ready, Kurosawa also began to adjust her position. Crack. Click. Looking at Ichi-nose Yuki through the lens, because all he saw was her, Kurosawa found that after applying his own makeup, she became more beautiful and charming. Perhaps the makeup was specially designed by him, and it was in line with his preferences from the beginning. Yuki Ichi-nose was wearing a purple lace dress, standing against the wall. Her temperament was very beautiful. Only a small part of her calf was exposed under the knee of the long skirt. The Balenciaga stockings looked like she was holding a pipa and half covering her face. Completely, but even more noticeable. Human beings are very strange creatures. The more they don't get something, the more they want it. For example, if you see a piece of calf, you want to see it. For example, Xiao Yuki is supposed to be a youthful, energetic, young, and beautiful type, but for his first makeup look, he still considered the royal sister style and wanted to see this completely different side. Well, just like that, after half an hour of flipping around in various positions, Kurosawa stopped shooting and stood there looking at the photos, feeling a little distressed. What's wrong? Seeing his distress, Yuki Ichi-nose walked over in slippers. Wearing black stockings, her feet were so small that she couldn't even wear slippers. It's beautiful, but it feels like something is missing. Kurosawa Hikaru looked down at the photo and took a sneak peek, not forgetting the business. Let me take a look. Yuki Ichi-nose approached him and looked over. In response, Kurosawa Hikaru operated the camera with his hands and asked her to look at the photos. Isn't this great? After looking at a few photos, Ichi-nose Yuki thought they were great. Whether it was expressions, angles, lighting, atmosphere, or timing, they were all very good and very beautiful. The key is that the makeup that Brother Guan gave her is superb, and she looks beautiful no matter what angle she looks at. With this kind of finished product, if it were replaced by her usual shooting, Mr. Kuriki would probably be satisfied and call it a day. Are you missing your high heels? Kurosawa Hikaru looked at her in the slippers, because the size was not completely suitable, a little loose, sexy yet lovely feet. He had no evil thoughts, but was really thinking about the problem. He didn't know the specific criteria for the high-scoring photos required by the system, but according to the system, it only needed to update the task progress. At present, among the 5 tasks, none has been completed, and the progress has not even been updated. The 5 goals of this dating mission are as follows. As a photographer, help her take 9 high-scoring photos. Complete 3 sets of makeup with different styles. Take an intimate photo that is exclusive to you. Ask her to set your photo as mobile wallpaper. During the filming process, she felt shy 3 times. From this point of view, if you want to accomplish the first goal, you must first update the makeup task progress. In addition, the shyness task must be thought of during the filming process. I feel like I have to put it on because this outfit is very mature. Without high heels, it lacks soul and is not complete. Ichi-nose Yuki looked down at her feet. She was wearing a pair of slippers, which felt a bit nondescript. It is no exaggeration to say that except for the lack of shoes, everything else is exquisite. Then go buy it? Kurosawa Hikaru thought for a moment and nodded. I came wearing high heels. Ichi-nose Yuki said immediately after hearing his decision. Your high heels don't match this outfit well enough. Kurosawa Hikaru naturally knew that she was wearing high heels, but he still shook his head. When we met in the morning, because he had the skill of getting started with makeup. He looked at Xiao Yuki's whole body from beginning to end from a very professional perspective, from her hairstyle and eyeliner to her high heels and toenails. She was wearing high-heeled sandals, which were relatively fresh and comfortable, and also complemented her clean and beautiful feet, but they didn't look good enough when paired with black stockings. Okay, Brother Guang bought everything except shoes. Yuki Ichino's realized the matching and originally wanted to say something, but after thinking about it, she gave up and couldn't help but sigh. Originally, she wanted to say that she was a hot girl and knew how to match, but after putting on makeup just now, she found that she was still too young. Because you didn't say what your foot size was before, Kurosawa shrugged. In fact, he had considered buying shoes before, but when he picked up his phone, he didn't have the courage to ask, "What size are your feet?" It always felt a little perverted. "That's right, I'm a size 36.5. Some things are inconvenient to say over the phone, but they are easier to say in person. Ichino's Yuki remembered that she had really missed this and said immediately, "Let's go for a walk." Realizing that a good set of makeup must be done carefully, Kurosawa immediately decided to take action. "Brother Guang, can you let me pay later?" Before setting off, Yuki Ichino's asked in advance. When she thought of Brother Guang, she couldn't help but feel a sense of debt in her heart as she spent an unknown amount of money on today's shooting. According to the situation, what on earth should she do to thank Brother Guang? If the price is right. Sometimes, attitude is more important than external things like money, Kurosawa smiled. If it was him in the past, he might care about money very much and only want to make money and make money. There is no way he would spend money on girls without restraint. Even when he was dating online, he would never catch the rabbit before he saw it, and he would not pry the hawk, so much so that he was judged as a stingy by his online girlfriend. But after getting the system, his mentality changed, especially after what happened these days, such as Miss Ninomiya bought him a piano worth tens of millions, and Brother Shinichi said that opening a dojo would bring in at least tens of billions of dollars a year. Moreover, money is meant to be spent. Xiao Yuki is such a cute girl right in front of him, what's wrong with spending money to buy her a gift? 3 more chapters are here. Current average subscription plus chapters, 1. Average subscription owed chapters, 28. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 129. After tidying up, they went out. Take the elevator to the first floor, walk through the lobby, and come out to the street. The streets of Shinjuku are very lively on weekend mornings. People come and go, and there are all kinds of people. Of course, the appearance of Yuki Ichino's can be called a shock to the street. Just walking out of the hotel, nearby passers-by looked at her subconsciously. Just one glance is not enough, the return rate is as high as 300%, and everyone looks at it 3 times. The first time I was attracted subconsciously, the second time I couldn't help but stare at it, and the third time I was looking at it again with unfulfilled interest. In this hot summer, Ichino's Yuki is wearing a purple lace dress, which is incompatible with people's summer clothes. Coupled with her breathtakingly beautiful appearance, it is even more stunning. Actor. When people see her, they subconsciously wonder if she is an artist who relies on her reputation to make a living. However, no one was impressed by her. Even fans who have bought related clothing magazines may not be able to recognize them at a glance because the styles are so different. Wow, so beautiful. Because of her overwhelming good looks and charm, Hikaru Kurosawa, who was traveling with her, had a much smaller presence. Even so, someone still noticed them walking side by side. Realizing this, many men's eyes turned to envy, jealousy, hatred, and adoration. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't pay attention to the hostile sight and gaze, but actually enjoyed it. Shopping with a beauty like Xiaoyuki is really an honorable thing. Moving forward, through the crowd, they entered a shoe store. This was a store that Kurosawa Hikaru had visited before, but he didn't know the shoe size, so he bought stockings and left. "Isn't this Mr. Kurosawa? Welcome." When he just entered the store, the female clerk who had served her before recognized him at a glance and hurriedly came to greet him. After all, this store specializes in selling women's shoes. There are very few male customers on weekdays, and if there are any, they are with girlfriends. For example, Kurosawa Hikaru, who used to come here alone to buy things, was a handsome guy with outstanding looks, extraordinary temperament, and gentleness. It was difficult for people to forget him. "I'm here to buy high heels. Do you still have the pairs of high heels I looked at before?" Seeing her coming to receive her, Kurosawa Hikaru nodded and glanced at Xiaoyuki behind him. "Still, this is your girlfriend? She's so beautiful, just like a star. I don't know how to call her." The female clerk was a young woman in her 30s, with a mature appearance, exquisite makeup, and a plump and sexy figure. After she responded, she saw Kurosawa's female companion and couldn't help but admire her. Although as a salesperson and shopping guide, you must learn to speak people's words when you see them, and tell lies when you see ghosts, so as to provide extremely complimentary business services. But when she saw Ichino's Yuki, her words were genuine admiration and praise. "Ha ha ha." Kurosawa Hikaru smiled when he heard this and did not deny it. "I am Yuki Ichino's, you are so flattering." Just one sentence made Ichino's Yuki fall in love with her. "Please come with me, both of you." The clerk smiled slightly and then greeted. Walking into the store, there are a variety of shoes on the cabinet, and every pair looks beautiful. "Isn't this store very expensive?" Yuki Ichino's couldn't help but be dazzled and a little frightened when she found that these shoes were in good condition. "Please sit down first and I'll get your shoes." Soon, the female clerk led them to a sofa area and sat down. "Brother Guang, aren't the things in this store very expensive?" When she walked away, Yuki Ichino's tugged on the sleeve of Hikaru Kurosawa beside him and couldn't help but said. "It's okay." Kurosawa shook his head slightly. "These are the two items you focused on before." Soon, the clerk brought 3 shoe boxes and knelt in front of the 2 of them. When she knelt down, she lowered her head and bent over because of the low-cut dress, and the scenery was extremely beautiful. Seeing this scene, Yuki Ichino's, who was originally focused on the price, suddenly became sharp-eyed and glanced sideways at Hikari next to him. However, Kurosawa's eyes were clear and he just stared at the 3 shoe boxes. As the shoe boxes were opened one by one, 3 pairs of sparkling and beautiful high heels were seen lying inside, like works of art. "This pair, please help me get this one, size 36.5. After she finished posing, Kurosawa took one look and chose a pair of black high-heeled shoes. "This one is size 36.5. The female clerk heard the size and said immediately. Size 36.5 is a standard size that is neither too big nor too small. It is just the right size for both shoes and feet. Many of the shoes displayed in the store are of this size. Ms. Ichino's, please try it on and see if it fits." Immediately, the female clerk took the shoes out of the box and said. "How much does this pair of high heels cost?" As she brought the high heels to her feet, Ichino's Yuki couldn't help but ask. 28,000 yen. The female clerk was a little surprised when she heard this question, but she still answered. Normally, customers who walk into the store, especially young and beautiful girls who come with a male companion, will never ask about the price. This is too expensive. Let's look at other stores. After learning the price, Yuki Ichino's reached out and tugged on Kurosawa's shirt and whispered. At this price, she simply couldn't afford it, she would feel bad if Brother Guang paid the bill. As long as it suits you, the price is not expensive at all, wear it and see. Seeing her retreat, Kurosawa smiled and said, in the process of getting along with others, attitude is very important. Yuki Ichino's shook her head slightly, with a bit of resistance on her beautiful face. Although these high heels are very beautiful, the price is too expensive. 128,000, which is more expensive than her skirt. What kind of luxury is this? I chose this before. I think it will match your outfit. Please wear it for me to see. Seeing her reaction, Kurosawa Hikaru leaned in front of her and coaxed in a low voice. Unlike asking her to wear stockings, just asking her to wear high heels, there is no need to be ashamed to say it. Okay, seeing that he hoped so, Ichino's Yuki could only nod obediently. I'll put it on for you. When she stopped shrinking her legs, the female clerk said with a smile. After that, she started to reach out and take off Xiao Yuki's pair of high-heeled sandals that cost less than 10,000. Miss Ichino's feet are so beautiful. After taking off her high heels, the female clerk looked at her beautiful feet wrapped in stockings and couldn't help but admire them. As a clerk in a shoe store, she has seen the feet of many customers, and it can be said that she has read countless feet. Because of this, she could tell at a glance that Yuki Ichino's feet were beautiful and probably very attractive to men. That's right. Kurosawa Hikaru nodded in agreement, agreeing very much. Hearing this, Yuki Ichino's looked at him and felt that he really felt this way. The annoyance and embarrassment in his heart were immediately replaced by happy emotions, and the corners of his mouth raised slightly. Please stand up and look. Soon, the female clerk helped her put it on. Yuki Ichino stood up carefully, took a step on the spot, and turned around after taking 2 steps. What do you think, Brother Guang? The size was just right. As he stood firm, Ichino's Yuki asked a little uneasily. Instead of high-heeled sandals that exposed her toes, she successfully put on a pair of black pointed high-heeled shoes that covered her toes. Under the skirt, the combination of black silk and black high heels is a perfect match. After dating for this period of time, Kurosawa Hikaru has become immune to beauty. Even if he saw such a beautiful scene last time when he saw Miki Senpai, he would have taken it out of the photographer's instinct at most. But at this moment, looking at Xiao Yuki, Kurosawa Hikaru was fascinated and his eyes were blank. Just the difference between open toes and non-open toes, combined with the mature and exquisite makeup, makes Ichino's Yuki look noble and elegant, mature and dignified, with outstanding temperament, so beautiful. Seeing his eyes widen, Ichino's Yuki immediately knew the answer, which was better than any sweet words or compliments. At the same time, the system's voice sounded in Kurosawa Hikaru's mind, mission goal progress updated, 1/3 of 3 sets of different styles of makeup completed. Perfect. Kurosawa Hikaru came back to his senses, leaned back, sat on the sofa and looked up at her, with a proud smile on his face. If you ask what a masterpiece is, this is a masterpiece. At this moment, Xiao Yuki's makeup from head to toe, except for the inner outfit, was all made by him. Sure enough, for girls, if they want to show their femininity and charm, high heels are an essential item. Take a few turns and see. Kurosawa Hikaru asked after sighing in his heart. Good. Seeing his loving and proud eyes, Ichino's Yuki was completely smitten and nodded. She was wearing a long dress, and as she turned around quickly, the tails of her exquisitely crafted lace skirt flew up, making her look incredibly beautiful. Ba bang bang. The female clerk stood aside and was stunned when she saw the interaction between the two people, and couldn't help but applaud. She has received countless couples, but there has never been a couple like them. The handsome man and the beautiful woman seem to be a match made in heaven. Their love can be seen from their eyes to their smiles. Like it? Soon, Kurosawa Hikaru waited for her to finish spinning and then asked. I like it, but it's so expensive. Ichino's Yuki looked down at her high heels, feeling very confused. Should this pair of high heels be considered a luxury item? It's very comfortable to wear, and it's super good looking. Shoes can be matched with many clothes. It is normal for them to be more expensive. Look in the mirror and see how the ones I chose for you look like. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't think the price was expensive, so he smiled, stood up, held her shoulders, and pushed her to the side in front of the full-length mirror. Brother Guang, you are better at dressing up than me. Ichinose Yuki looked at herself in the mirror. She was so beautiful that she couldn't help but sigh. When they went on their first karaoke date, she thought Brother Guang was a nerd from Dongda University who didn't know anything, and she even thought of a suit of clothes for him. But in the end, Brother Guang actually bought it according to her request. Thinking about it now, if she hadn't made the request at that time, Brother Guang might have been even more handsome that day. You are also good at dressing, but the style is different, so I bought it. How about it? Kurosawa Hikaru smiled. Ichinose Yuki thought for a while, and finally nodded with determination. She thought it through and decided that she would never let Brother Guang down. She must become a professional model and make a lot of money. Even if she didn't pay him back, she would give him a return gift and pay him back double. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 130. Because it was a matching pair of shoes, Yuki's previous high heels were put into a new shoe box, and she bought another pair. After checking out, the two walked out of the store. There is another pair of shoes that matches other clothes. Let's buy them together at another store. Kurosawa Hikaru took another look and finally didn't see any exposed toes. He nodded with satisfaction. Such a mature, delicate, and elegant outfit is indeed not suitable for exposed toes, although it is quite sexy and beautiful. But this set of makeup is not about sexiness at all. Okay, Yuki Ichinose made up her mind, and her mood was not so entangled. But before they took a few steps, someone suddenly stopped in front of them. Yuki, Kurosawa. This is a beautiful hot girl with long wavy hair, a hot and sexy figure, wearing a camisole, hot pants, showing a small waist, and black fishnet stockings. It was Shion Aoi. Aoi. Yuki Ichinose was a little surprised to see her. It's you guys, I just saw Kurosawa Ze's profile and I wasn't sure. Yuki, you're wearing so beautifully. After recognizing her, Shion trotted over and grabbed her hand, extremely surprised. Why are you here? Aren't you going to have multiple dates today? Ichinose Yuki was a little surprised when her hands were held enthusiastically. Ian's personality has always been like this, very lively and energetic. As long as she is there, there will never be a dull moment. The gathering time is not until 1 p.m., so I dragged my boyfriend to go shopping. Shion nodded, pulled out a hand, and pointed behind. I saw a man with dyed yellow hair, a handsome appearance, and a jacket leaning against the wall 1 meter away. After being called, Sato stood up and walked over a few steps, raised his hand and said hello. Yo. Yo. Kurosawa Hikaru looked him in the eye and responded. Kurosawa Z, long time no see. My boyfriend has already said hello, and Shion was also very surprised to see Kurosawa Hikaru. Ever since that karaoke session, she has admired Kurosawa very much. Especially when she goes to YouTube every day and sees the karaoke routine video, the number of clicks increases at an exaggerated rate every day. With the replay and repeated viewing, she admires him even more. Long time no see. Among the hot girls, Kurosawa Hikari has the best impression of her and smiled. This hot girl is not cunning, and has a good personality. She is very lively, cares about everyone, and is very familiar. It's been almost half a month since the last meeting. If you have time, go on a date with everyone. Shion jumped in front of Kurosawa Hikari and looked up at him. Today, I have something to do with Xiao Yuki, not just a date. Kurosawa Hikari shrugged in the face of this complaint. To be honest, he doesn't really dislike multiple dates, especially with LAN, it's just that there are so many people, it's inevitable to compare, and you have to show your affection to others. In terms of actual feelings, it's far worse than a date alone. When dating Yuki alone, no matter what you do, you will be happy because you can be yourself and don't have to act. You are dressed so beautifully, but it's not a date? What are you going to do? Shiana-lan was a little confused when she heard this, and looked at Yuki's appearance and outfit again. To be honest, she didn't recognize Yuki's profile when she saw her face on the opposite sidewalk just now. Fortunately, she saw Kurosawa's EE. Didn't she ask you to help register Twitter before? I plan to take a few sets of photos for her and post them on the internet to see if I can accumulate some fame for her and pave the way for her to become a professional model after graduation. Considering that she likes surfing the internet and is expected to help Yuki in the future, Kurosawa Hikaru did not hide it from her and explained. Although Yuki is not graduating so soon, with her poor grades, she probably won't be able to get into college and can only enter the society in advance. Wow, Kurosawa-z, you are too good to Yuki, right? You even helped her plan her future career. Knowing that they were doing this, Shiana-lan was amazed and couldn't help but look back at her boyfriend. That look seemed to be saying, look at her. Sato felt this attitude, touched the back of his neck helplessly, and looked at Kurosawa Hikaru. This guy is as curly as ever, but you can't be curvier than him. Even a rough guy like him can tell at a glance that Yuki Ichino's clothes are expensive. Handsome, can sing, can spoil people, well-educated, and rich, how many men can compare with him? Sato is also very good to you, accompanying you to go shopping early in the morning. Kurosawa Hikaru noticed his helplessness and embarrassment, and also helped to rescue him. He is very good to Yuki, but this does not mean that Sato is not good to his girlfriend. That's right, by the way, can you take pictures? Or did you make an appointment with a photographer? Shiana-lan nodded, and then asked curiously. Let's talk while walking, and buy her shoes. Because she couldn't stop talking once she started, Kurosawa Hikaru found that there were more and more people around, so he said. After finishing her makeup, Xiao Yuki's charm was so strong that both men and women would take a few more glances at her. Now, because she stopped, some people even looked around, looking for cameras, and took out their phones to try to take secret photos. It doesn't matter if Xiao Yuki is photographed, but if there are photos of him and Xiao Yuki together and posted on the internet, there will be a problem. Ever since I found out that Yuki is working part-time as a graphic model, and considering that she doesn't like studying, she probably won't be able to go to college in the future, so I started to study photography. Recently, I feel that my level is about the same, so I officially decided to help her take photos. Soon, they started walking, and Kurosawa Hikaru chatted with her and made up stories. Wow! Shiana-ai was very supportive. It would be better to say that she was so amazed and looked at Yuki Ichino's with some envy. Yuki is really lucky to have found such a perfect boyfriend. Sensing the envy of his good friend, Ichino's Yuki's lips curled up slightly, which was very helpful. Having a boyfriend like Brother Guang is really very honorable. The four of them walked together until they entered a shoe store. Kurosawa Hikaru directly made a request for the shoes he had seen before and told them the corresponding shoe size. They paid for the goods without trying them on. During this process, Kurosawa Mitsuki bought more than 60,000 yen worth of shoes without blinking an eye, which also amazed Ai Shiana. Bye, Yuki, show me the photos next Monday. Finally, when walking out of the store, Shiana Aoi said goodbye very wisely. She didn't choose to go shooting with him. It was okay to meet and chat for a while by chance. If she went along, it might cause trouble. Bye-bye. Yuki Ichino's also waved to her. Soon, the two groups went their separate ways. Brother Guang, Actually I want to go to college. On the way back to the hotel, Yuki Ichinose was carrying a bag. After thinking about it, he mustered up the courage to speak. If you want to go to college, you have to study hard. Don't you want to be a hottie? Kurosawa Hikaru was a little surprised when he heard this. He knew that Xiao Yuki was the bottom hottie and a scumbag. According to this situation, she probably won't be able to get into college, and if she studies seriously and lets her classmates see it, her hot girl protective shell will fall off. I couldn't before, but now I want to study. Yuki Ichinose nodded and said. Why? Kurosawa Hikaru was a little surprised. For people who have put aside studying for a long time, it is very difficult to pick up a book again, unless there is some change in thinking. Because I want to be better. Ichinose Yuki raised her head and looked at him. There was still something in her mind that she didn't dare to say out because of embarrassment, which was, this way I can be with you with my head held high. That's a good thing. Although she didn't express her feelings, Kurosawa Hikaru saw the light in her eyes and understood her little thoughts, and smiled. Being willing to learn is definitely a good thing. Now she is still a sophomore in high school. If she takes it seriously, even if she can't completely catch up with her previous study progress, becoming a top student can improve her grades. In fact, the knowledge learned through reading is not the most important and may not be applicable to all life. The key is to cultivate the habit of learning and making progress in the face of new things. Not long after, they returned to the hotel. Let's start shooting. After returning to the hotel again, Kurosawa Hikaru said. Sure enough, with the makeup done, a high-scoring photo was quickly taken. Hearing the system's task progress notification, Kurosawa Hikaru also stopped and looked down at the photo, wanting to see what constituted a high score. Wow! As he paused, Yuki Ichinose walked over curiously, and after taking one look, he couldn't help but be amazed. The photo in the SLR camera can definitely be regarded as the best photo she has taken since she has been a graphic model for more than a year. It is so beautiful. Your makeup is more mature now, and in terms of your words and deeds, it's actually best to be more mature and confident, which is more in line with your image. Seeing her cute reaction, Kurosawa paused and said. Although this contrast is very cute, it is not good for getting into the state. If you want to be a professional model, the most important thing is self-confidence. But your photos are so good. Yuki Ichinose couldn't help it. Next, I'll direct your posture. After carefully examining the high-scoring photos, Kurosawa finally got an idea and said. Yuki Ichinose nodded. 20 minutes later, Kurosawa's high-scoring photos reached 3. He took photos for a while, from the living room to the balcony, and took photos in every corner, but the progress was no longer updated. Obviously, a set of makeup can only have 3 high-scoring photos. Look right at me and grab the hem of your skirt. Realizing this, Kurosawa Hikaru thought of the mission goal, pointed the camera at Xiao Yuki, and made pose requirements. Ichinose Yuki obediently obeyed, lowering her waist and grabbing the hem of her skirt. Lifted up, she followed the instruction, and as the hem of the skirt was lifted, her silky and graceful calves were no longer exposed, instead of her ankles. Lifted up, the hem of the skirt is lifted up little by little, past the knees, and the beautiful legs under the skirt are exposed. Lifted up from small to large, the plump and round thighs and the slender calves are wrapped in Balenciaga stockings, which are very eye-catching. Pull it up. Kurosawa Hikaru saw the scene through the lens, resisted the urge not to press the shutter, swallowed, and said again. As the only photographer who can see this kind of benefit, Kurosawa Hikaru feels very happy at this moment. Seeing a girl listen to your orders and follow them gives people a kind of fascinating excitement, and a feeling of being satisfied with their desire for control. Brother Hikaru, if you go up any higher, you'll be gone. Hearing the 4th sound, Yuki Ichinose suddenly felt a little shy and said coquettishly. Brother Guang is filming, or does he want to see her naked? Although she didn't mind, she was not mentally prepared for this situation. Following her coquettishness, a line of words appeared in front of Kurosawa Hikaru's eyes. Mission progress update: during the filming process, make her shy 3 times, 1/3. Ha ha ha, done. When Kurosawa saw the progress update, he stopped looking behind the SLR, put down the camera, and laughed out loud. You are bullying me. Yuki Ichino's noticed that he wasn't taking pictures at all, put down his skirt and stamped his feet. Okay, I'm done with this outfit, let's change into other clothes. Kurosawa Hikaru actually didn't want to bully her, but the date mission had such a requirement, so he greeted her with a shrug.